A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalatu wassalamu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tayyibin at-tahirin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilman. So, assalamu alaikum everyone, and Ramadan Kareem again. Our reflection for today is about the spectrum of the human soul. And today we're going to reflect on verses 4 and 5 from chapter 95, which is Surah Teen. So in Surah Teen, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. So the translation for this is, truly we created man in the most beautiful stature, ahsani taqwīm. Summa radadnahu, then we cast him asfala sāfilīn, to the lowest of the low. And scholars explain that these verses refer to the human condition, which originated as the most exalted creation, and it can also fall to the lowest of the low, when human beings fail to live in accordance with their true nature, with their fitrah, upon which Allah has created them. The word that the Quran uses here, taqwīm, which is translated as stature generally, is a verbal noun from the word qawwama, which means to raise, to shape, to form, or to arrange. And scholars explain that taqwīm is used to indicate something that has become what it truly ought to be by achieving harmony and balance. In other words, ahsanu taqwīm, the best or the most beautiful stature, implies the beautiful stature that can be achieved by the human being when the potential within the human beings is fulfilled. Scholars also explain that the most beautiful stature refers both to the human physical form as well as a symbol of what is called the inner comportment, or the inner world of the human beings. As human beings, they say, are the best of God's creations, both outwardly and inwardly. To put it very, very simply, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human beings with outward beauty as well as the potential for inward beauty. The next verse talks about the other extreme of the human condition. While the human being is created with a beautiful stature, he can also fall to the lowest of the low. Physically, this verse can be seen as a reference to simply old age, right? When we slowly lose our faculties and become a shadow of our strong youthful selves, when the beauty of youth slowly transforms to wrinkly skins and a receding hairline. So with regard to the inner reality of the human being, the descent into asfala sāfilīn is not time-bound or naturally occurring. Human beings can and may fall into the lowest of the low by failing to fulfill the natural requirements of being created in the most beautiful stature. We will talk more about this in the coming days. For today, we just need to note and reflect on this spectrum of inner reality that is available to us as human beings. We need to remember that God intended and created us to be ahsanu taqwīm, and He provided us with all that we need in order to be such. We also have within us, though, the possibility of falling into asfala sāfilīn by failing to live in alignment with what I like to think of as our creational design. Now, on a practical level, few of us have fully realized the beautiful potential that we have been created with. Thankfully, very few of us have also fallen to the depths of decline that this verse refers to. If we had, we probably wouldn't be listening to this. In other words, most of us toggle on the spectrum of our finer and base selves every single day, rather every moment to moment. So this verse is both immensely inspiring and deeply humbling. It is humbling and in fact terrifying, isn't it, to recognize the depths to which we as human beings can fall. And we need to be constantly watchful of this potential descent. The good news and hope in this is this, that we can also choose to live in accordance with our higher selves in every moment of every day. We can turn back when we have drifted, when we have become distant, and we can begin again in the very next moment. So let us remind ourselves that ahsanu taqwīm, the most beautiful stature, is not generally achieved in grand gestures. Rather, like the verse tells us, it is shaped, it is qawwama. through small and consistent alignments. So achieving our full potential is not a one-time project, though, some of times we wish it were, right? It is something that we need to practice and work on every single day in every moment. So let us pause and ask ourselves today, in what areas of my life am I closer to living in alignment with my most beautiful stature? And this answer is different for everyone. For some of us, worship comes naturally. Telling the truth might be challenging. For some of us, it's easy to be kind to people, and it's challenging to fast, for example, right? So every single one of us has a different area of strength and a different area of challenge. So, we need to ask ourselves, where do I feel slightly or majorly misaligned with asana taqwīm? What is my greatest area of challenge? What small habits are elevating me? What am I doing on a daily basis that is actually helping me live in alignment with my fitrah? Because remember, what psychology teaches us now is that we also need to focus on what we're doing right, to encourage ourselves to do more of what is working. And the next question we need to ask ourselves is, what even tiny habits may be lowering me, maybe taking me away from my potential as asanu taqwīm? And what baby steps can I choose today to live in accordance with my highest potential? What can I do in the very next moment? As soon as I finish listening to this, what can I do? One small step that I can take that will take me further along the journey. And of course, with the barakah of Ramadan, this is easier than ever. And so it is no better time than this month to start, my friends. And see you, inshallah, tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.